One of the services we offer here is Electroless Nickel Plating. It's quite a complex process, so today I'm sat here with Steve Whitehead, our technical manager, to find out more about that. So Steve, for those who don't know, what is Electroless Nickel Plating?
Essentially, electroless nickel plating is a method of depositing nickel particles onto a metal substrate. Where it differs from most forms of plating that are commonly known as electroplating or electrolytic plating, we don't have to generate an electric current to create that reaction. We simply clean the substrate back to a brilliant state, we submerge it in the ENP chemistry, and an autocatalytic reaction occurs where it sort of self-perpetuates and continues to deposit until we retrieve it from the bath. In real terms, what we do, we strip the metal substrate down to what's known as a brilliant state, remove all contaminants, all oxides, and then you've got a piece of active metal that wants something to happen to it. We've got a solution that actually wants to give up particles. So you bring the two together and the reaction then starts from there.
What type of ENP coatings do we offer and what makes them different?
At CBE Plus currently, as standard, we offer medium phosphorus, high phosphorus, nickel PTFE, which is a composite coating, and through a fairly complex heat treatment procedure, we can achieve what's called diffuse nickel plating. So just to go back to the beginning, medium phosphorus is usually preferred for those who want wear resistance because it's got a better as plated hardness. And high phos is usually required for corrosion resistance, although it is actually a little bit softer. It is actually a better structure for resistance to corrosion. And our third coating is nickel PTFE, which is a composite coating. It's an ENP process, but it contains submicron particles of PTFE that are co-deposited along with the nickel, and that gives you a much more lubricious coating, so it really does have a good resistance to wear. And then finally, if you really wanted the gold standard in protection for harsh environments such as subsea and marine, oil field and stuff for instance, we can achieve diffuse nickel plating where we plate to around about 75 or 80 microns. We put the customer component through a pretty complex heat treatment cycle that actually allows the substrate and the ENP to sort of intermingle, become diffused, and it creates a barrier of around 3 to 5 microns that's got a very slight flexible nature to it, but it's got an excellent resistance to corrosion. And on a mild steel or carbon steel part that's coated in diffused ENP, you can expect a life of around 25 years plus on the seabed, which is pretty impressive.
Yeah. What industries and applications benefit most from electroless nickel plating?
I think probably I would say aerospace and defence, automotive, motorsport, and oil field, as I've already mentioned, with diffuse nickel plating. Some of the stuff with aerospace and defence I clearly can't talk about too much, but we can prolong the life of certain automotive parts like braking parts and such things. We apply these to Formula 1 and NASCAR. And in oil field, like I've said, you can prolong the life of a carbon steel component to 25 years plus.
Why do customers choose us to do their electroless nickel plating projects?
Well, as a business, we're highly accredited for oil field and aerospace and defence. We've got our AS 9100 accreditation, for example. But further to that, we've got a great deal of knowledge in the industry. I personally have been involved in it for very nearly 30 years, and during that time we've spent a lot of time and effort pushing the boundaries, if you like, and taking on parts and projects that would make most people in our field shy away because of the sheer size of it, the risks that involves, and where a lot of people might look at a job and say, how on earth are we supposed to do that? We try to look at a job and say, right, how are we going to get this done?
Yeah. And
we can get involved right in the earlier stages because of the in-depth knowledge that we've got. We can sort of support with design for plating. A lot of people talk about this design for manufacturer. It's rarely ever design for plating, but the right information at the right time, it can make a part so much more easy and therefore cheaper to get coated.
Was it recently that we made some bespoke tanks for a customer?
Yeah, that's that's a facility that we have, a capability that we have, where we can actually build them ourselves in-house if required. We do have subcontractors that we can go to also, but again, we're not afraid to sort of say, look, you're going to need a tank of this size, and we've got tanks in our sort of library of tanks right now. We've got a tank that goes up to about 16,000 litres.
Wow.
We've got 3 metres tall, 13 metres long.
Now a little bit about you. How long have you worked in the industry and how did you actually get into plating?
I've been in the industry now almost 30 years, unbelievably. I know my grey hair might tell you different, but I've been doing it close on 30 years, and I actually got into the industry just by picking up the phone and calling local companies and saying, have you got any work? Have you got any jobs? I was lucky to get on at Nitec Derbyshire, as we were back then, and it wasn't long before I realised I was going to take to this, and I started to understand it a great deal, and I realised there were quite a lot of people, even in the industry, who didn't fully get it. But to me, it just sort of came naturally, and I bought into what we were trying to do.